Employers with 10 employees or more are required by both federal and state laws to have written safety programs based on the needs of their business or industry. Even if your company has less than 10 employees, some regulations may still affect you. These laws and regulations are designed to teach employees to develop awareness for safety at the workplace, as well as develop a basic understanding for accident prevention. The purpose of safety orientation training is to educate employees on how to anticipate accidents before they happen and reduce the number of injuries on the job site. The goal of this video is to help employees recognize and prevent common hazards in the workplace. It is a general overview and not a comprehensive training program. Your employer should provide in-depth safety training on the various hazards you will be exposed to in your particular workplace and your situation. The contents of this instructional video will cover positive safety attitudes, slips, trips, and falls, musculoskeletal disorder, also referred to as MSD, back safety and proper lifting, personal protective equipment, also referred to as PPE, hazardous chemicals, electrical safety, fire safety, and first aid. A positive safety attitude is recognizable by the behavior of an employee. Recognizing hazards and taking steps to eliminate them is a good indicator of a positive safety attitude. Employees with positive safety attitudes generally display work behaviors and characteristics such as alertness to their surroundings and the ability to identify hazards and ways to prevent them. Being focused on the task at hand. Following safety rules and procedures, even if it takes longer to complete a given task. And taking personal responsibility to ensure their safety, as well as their co-workers. Employees with negative safety attitudes can often be identified by their work behaviors. They are complacent with what they are doing and take unnecessary shortcuts, which are not safe for themselves or others around them. They are distracted by their surroundings, don't pay close attention to details, and/or they don't follow safety rules and procedures. And they work while fatigued. They may make some poor choices or make a wrong move that results in injury to themselves or others. Slips, trips, and falls are the most common source of injuries in the workplace, but are also one of the easiest hazards to prevent. The leading cause of slips is predominantly due to wet surfaces caused by spills. A spill should be immediately marked and cleaned up to prevent workplace injuries. Another contributing factor to slips is the type of shoes worn by employees. Slip-resistant shoes should be worn whenever possible, especially when working in areas that are prone to be wet. Easy to identify tripping hazards include any object obstructing the view of a path, hard to see walkways due to poor lighting, clutter in a walkway, wrinkled or torn carpet, uncovered cables crossing the path, and uneven walkways, usually in doorways. Some simple steps to prevent common causes of tripping include removing obstacles from the walkway, keeping work areas well lit by replacing burned out light bulbs immediately, rerouting or properly covering exposed cables that cross pathways, and straightening, repairing, or removing flooring that is loose or in need of repair. A person risks falling when working at any elevation. Falls can also be the result of slips and trips. Falls in the workplace can result from several contributing factors, such as ladders which are damaged, used incorrectly, or are on uneven ground, the improper use of scaffolding, climbing an object without the use of fall protection, using a chair or other object to stand on, An employee can prevent most major falls by correctly using fall prevention equipment, using ladders and scaffolds properly, and repairing or discarding any defective equipment. Musculoskeletal disorders are illnesses or injuries that gradually damage muscles, tendons, and nerves in the hands, wrists, elbows, shoulders, neck, and back. No worker is exempt from the risk of MSDs. Whether you are a construction worker, mechanic, office worker, or employed in another field, musculoskeletal disorders are commonly caused by repetitive motions, awkward working positions, long periods of time in one position, and the use of steady force. If possible, avoid sitting for long periods of time. Shift positions frequently and take breaks often to stand and stretch. In today's working environment, many companies use an ergonomic program to help prevent musculoskeletal disorders. Ergonomics is the designing and arranging of daily items and equipment a person uses so they work together more efficiently and safely. Lifting any object the wrong way, regardless of its weight, can cause serious injury to your back. To minimize the possibility of back injuries, you need to practice safe and correct lifting and carrying techniques. Plan ahead. Before lifting an object, know where it is going to be placed and know the route you are going to use to get there. Test object to verify it is not too heavy for one person to pick up. If the object is too heavy, get help or use a mechanical device. Stand close to the object with your feet shoulder width apart. Bend at your hips and knees while maintaining a straight back. Get a good grip on the object and tighten the abdominal muscles. Lift the object close to your body using your legs to lift, not your back. Lift straight up, moving slowly. Walk slowly, keeping the object close to your body. Avoid leaning over. When turning, move your feet in the direction you want to go. Never twist or turn your back. Lower the object by slowly bending at your knees. Don't bend at your waist. Keep your head up and avoid twisting your body while setting the object down. If an object you wish to move is too heavy for you to lift alone, always work with another person. Use special equipment, such as dollies, whenever possible to move items. Although it is considered to be the last line of defense when it comes to protection behind administrative and engineering controls, personal protective equipment is an important defense against job-related hazards. OSHA requires employers to provide employees with the proper PPE needed for each job. For PPE to properly protect the user, it is important that it fits properly, provides the correct protection, is comfortable enough employees will use it and be able to perform the job, and is worn properly. When working a specific job, it is important to select the proper PPE necessary to protect yourself from that job's particular hazards and be trained on its use. Gloves are the most common and widely used form of PPE. They protect your hands from spills, cuts, chemicals, and electrical shock. Each hazard requires gloves made from different materials. Cotton fabric for abrasion hazards. Leather for burn hazards. Rubber, neoprene, vinyl, or latex for contact with hazardous chemicals and pathogens. Metal mesh or Kevlar for cutting hazards. Specialty insulated gloves for electrical hazards. Hard hats protect the head from falling objects and bumps. Employees should never wear a metal hard hat when working with electricity. Safety glasses and goggles prevent flying objects, splashes, and ultraviolet radiation from damaging the eyes. Protective clothing, such as aprons, protect employees from chemical spills, heat, and sparks. Boots and safety shoes prevent foot injuries from falling objects, punctures, wet floors, electrical shock, and heat. Earplugs and muffs help to protect the ears from high, intense, and loud noises that could damage your hearing. Respirators protect employees from inhaling harmful dusts, gases, and chemical mists, and are used as part of a respirator program. PPE must always be properly maintained to ensure continued protection. Always check PPE for damage before and after it is used. Clean the PPE before it is put away. Dispose of any single-use PPE properly, and avoid storing PPE in a place that could damage it due to heat, light, or moisture. Employees who work with or near chemicals have a right to understand about the chemicals, the dangers they present, and how to protect themselves from those dangers. Training is necessary and required by OSHA to ensure the safety of all employees. Before using any chemical, always read the label. Make sure you are adequately protected by using the appropriate personal protective equipment. If you don't understand, ask your supervisor. Safety data sheets are required for every chemical used and must be accessible at the worksite at all times. The safety data sheet is a 16-section, detailed informational bulletin prepared by the manufacturer or importer of a chemical. The safety data sheet provides information on the chemical, warnings, and appropriate PPE needed to work with the chemical. For consumer products such as window cleaner, toilet bowl cleaner, and dishwashing liquid, when used in the same manner, duration, and frequency that a normal household consumer would use them, follow the safety guidelines printed on the container. Employees should take training seriously and pay attention. Make sure you know the correct emergency procedures and use safe work habits when dealing with chemicals. Many workers are unaware of the potential for electrical hazards present in their work environment. A variety of possible solutions may be implemented to reduce or eliminate the risk of injury associated with electrical work. To manage electricity safely, before using any electrical cord, check the cord for damage. Do not use damaged equipment and report damaged equipment to your supervisor. And never work around electricity when you or your surroundings are wet. It is advisable to use ground fault circuit interrupters, GFCIs, on any cord that has the potential of getting wet. If you receive a shock or tingle when working around electrical cord sets or tools, immediately report it to your supervisor. Keep cords away from heat and water. Don't run cords across walkways, under rugs, or through doorways. Never use damaged outlets or adapters that let you plug extra cords into an outlet. Do not use 3-to-2 grounding adapters. Never use an electrical device that blows a fuse, trips a circuit breaker, shocks you, or appears damaged. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions when using electrical equipment. When repairing a machine or tool, follow your company's lockout-tagout procedure. Fire hazards are present everywhere. Prevention is the best defense against this hazard. Your employer is required to have a fire prevention plan that, at a minimum, includes a list of major fire hazards, proper handling and storage procedures, potential fire sources and their control, and the type of equipment needed to control each major hazard. Procedures to control accumulations of flammable and combustible waste material. Procedures for regular maintenance of safeguards installed on heat-producing equipment to prevent or control sources of ignition or fires. and the name or job title of employees responsible for control of fuel source hazards. You should be trained on how to use the fire alarm installed in your workplace, as well as know the locations of all fire extinguishers. There are 5 different classes of fires. Class A fires are the most common. They usually ignite from wood, paper, rubber, plastic, or cloth. Class B fires are caused by flammable liquids, gases, and grease. Class C fires start from electrical currents. Class D fires involve flammable metals, including sodium, titanium, magnesium, potassium, and lithium. And Class K fires, which are a subcategory of Class B fires. Class K fires typically burn at a higher temperature and involve cooking and vegetable oils, grease, and fats. For each of the different classes of fires, fire extinguishers with different agents are assigned for controlling and putting them out. Water, use on Class A only. It removes the heat. Dry chemical, use on Class A, B, or C. It inhibits chemical reactions. Wet chemical, developed especially for use on Class K fires. It extinguishes the fire by forming a soapy foam blanket over the burning liquid and thereby cooling the temperatures to below the ignition point. These extinguishers can sometimes be used on Class B and C fires. Carbon dioxide, use on Class B or C. It removes the oxygen fueling the fire. It is ineffective on Class A fires because the fire can continue to smolder and possibly reignite. Halogenated or clean agent, used mainly for Class C fires, but can be used on Class A and B. It also removes the oxygen from the fire. Metal X, use on Class D. Foam, use on B. It holds down the vapors. During a fire emergency, you should rely on the 4 A's. Activate the fire alarm. Assist others in exiting the building. Attempt to extinguish. Assemble in a predetermined location outside of the building. Only attempt to extinguish the fire if the fire is small and contained, you are safe from toxic smoke, you have a means of escape, your instincts tell you it's okay, and you know how to use a fire extinguisher. When using a fire extinguisher, follow the PASS system. Pull the pin by the handle. Aim the hose of the extinguisher at the base of the fire. Squeeze the trigger and sweep back and forth. Always make sure you use the correct extinguisher on the class of fire for which it is intended. If not, you might actually make matters worse by spreading the flames. First aid is limited care for an illness or injury until trained medical attention can arrive. Not all injuries require high levels of treatment. When the need arises for a case in which first aid will need to be administered, be prepared. Know the locations of all first aid kits. Know the location of the nearest eye wash and emergency shower. Know who is cardiopulmonary resuscitation CPR certified in your department. If a person is bleeding, be sure to follow universal precautions and avoid contact with the person's blood and other bodily fluids. Use special PPE designed for such situations, like medical gloves, goggles, and face shields. The 3 P's of first aid are preserve life, prevent injury, and promote recovery. In the event of an emergency, you need to remain calm and follow these guidelines. Call for medical help. Know the phone number to be contacted. Know the type of injury. Know the location of the victim. Check to see if the victim is breathing, and if necessary, move the victim away from any potential danger. Report every incident to your employer. The accident will then be investigated to help prevent it from happening again. You should always have a positive safety attitude and promote safety in your workplace. Maintain a clean work environment to prevent slips, trips, and falls. Always wear the proper PPE required by your employer. Follow all your employer's safety rules and procedures. Always pay close attention to your instructor during safety training. Ask your supervisor if you have any questions about equipment or procedures. Remember to always take training seriously and pay attention. Know your company's emergency procedures in case of an accident and use safe work habits at all times. You not only protect yourself, but your fellow employees too.